Hey guys, and welcome back. Tonight we are not going to a battle or a coronation. We are not going to witness the building of a great monument or the fall of an empire. We are going to the dinner table. But this is not a meal you would recognize. We will journey back in time to taste the delicacies and the desperate necessities that ancient peoples consumed. We will explore a world where sauces were made from rotten fish guts, where the most prized seasoning was a plant eaten into extinction, and where rodents were a celebrated delicacy. This is a history of the world's strangest flavors, and the often unbelievable stories behind them. So before the first course is served, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy these quiet journeys into the past. As always, it is a pleasure to see where you are all listening from. So let me know in the comments. Alright, dim the lights. Let the world outside fade away, and let us step back in time. You are standing on the deck of a small merchant ship, the gentle rhythmic swell of the Tyrrhenian Sea beneath your feet. For weeks, you have seen nothing but the endless, shimmering blue of the water and the vast, empty dome of the sky. But now, land is in sight, the coast of Campania, and your destination, the bustling, prosperous port city of Pompeii, is a pale, beautiful smudge on the horizon. The day is perfect. The sun is a warm, benevolent presence on your shoulders. The sea is a deep, tranquil azure. In the distance, the great, green, sleeping form of Mount Vesuvius dominates the landscape, its gentle slopes covered in lush vineyards and olive groves. As you draw closer, the city resolves itself into a vision of civilized order. You can see the strong stone walls of the harbor, the white stucco of the villas nestled in the hills, and the forest of masts from the hundreds of other ships that have come here to trade. It is the very picture of Roman peace and prosperity, the Pax Romana made manifest. You are a merchant from Gaul, here to trade fine woolen cloaks for the famous wines and olive oil of this region. You breathe in the sea air, which is clean and sharp and salty. It is a good day to do business. Your ship passes the great lighthouse at the harbor entrance, and you begin the slow, careful process of navigating towards the docks. The sounds of the city reach you now, a low, vibrant hum of human activity, the shouts of dock workers, the creaking of ropes and pulleys. The smell of the land comes to you on the breeze, a mixture of hot stone, fragrant pine trees from the hills, and the welcome scent of wood smoke from 1,000 cooking fires. It is the smell of life, of civilization. And then the wind shifts. It comes without warning, a slight change in the breeze, now coming more from the east, from a specific section of the city's waterfront. And it brings with it a new smell. It is not a pleasant one. At first, it is just a faint, pungent note on the air, something sharp and salty that makes you wriggle your nose. You assume it is the smell of the fishing boats, of their nets drying in the sun, a common enough smell in any port. But as your ship glides further into the harbor, the smell intensifies. It grows from a faint note into a thick, heavy, almost physical presence. It is a stench so powerful and so strange that it seems to coat the back of your throat. It is, without a doubt, a smell of fish. But it is not the clean, fresh smell of a fisherman's catch. It is the smell of 1,000,000 fish, a smell that has been concentrated, fermented, and baked for months under the hot Italian sun. It is a smell of profound, almost biblical decay. It is a smell of putrefaction, but a dry, salty, and strangely savory putrefaction. It is a smell that makes your eyes water. It makes the hardened sailors on your ship, men who are no strangers to foul odors, spit over the side of the rail in disgust. You grip the railing, your knuckles white, a piece of your cloak held over your nose and mouth. The beautiful, idyllic vision of Pompeii is now completely overwhelmed by this monstrous, invisible wave of pure, concentrated stench. It seems impossible that a city so wealthy, so beautiful, could produce an odor so profoundly, soul-crushingly vile. You turn to the ship's captain, a weathered old Roman with skin like tanned leather, who is standing at the tiller, seemingly unbothered by the olfactory assault. "By the gods," you ask, your voice muffled by your cloak, "what is that terrible smell? Has the city sewer burst?" The captain lets out a short, barking laugh. He points with his chin towards a section of the waterfront you are now passing. You see a series of large, open-air courtyards. Set back a little from the main docks, within them, you can see rows upon rows of what look like large, shallow, stone-lined vats, all sitting open under the full, baking glare of the sun. Even from this distance, you can see a thick, dark, and oily-looking substance within them. "That, my Gallic friend," the captain says, his voice full of a cynical amusement, "is not the smell of waste. That is the smell of money. It is the smell of this city's greatest treasure." You look at him, confused. "That," he says, taking a deep, appreciative sniff of the air, "is the smell of garum." Garum. You have heard of it, of course. The legendary fish sauce of the Romans. A condiment so prized that a small vial of the finest quality can sell for more than a flask of precious perfume. It is said that every great Roman chef, every noble, even the emperor himself, will not eat a meal without it. You had always imagined it to be something refined, something elegant. You had never imagined that its creation was an act of such profound, industrial-scale rot. Your ship is tying up at the dock now. You are in the heart of the smell, a thick, almost visible cloud of it that seems to press in on you from all sides. You are about to step ashore into a city that does not just tolerate the stench, but thrives on it. A city that has turned the very essence of decay into a symbol of ultimate luxury. Your journey into the strange world of ancient flavors has begun not with a taste, but with a smell that you can feel in your teeth. A smell you are certain you will never forget. You step off the gangplank of your ship and onto the solid, sun-warmed stone of the Pompeii docks. Your legs are unsteady, accustomed to the gentle roll of the sea, but it is your stomach that truly churns. The stench of garum is no longer a distant assault. It is a thick, inescapable miasma that coats everything. It is the very air you breathe. The dock workers, the merchants shouting orders, the town guards in their leather armor, they all move through this pungent fog as if it doesn't exist. Their faces accustomed to a smell that feels, to you, like a physical declaration of plague and decay. Your business here is with a wealthy freedman named Aulus Umbricius Scaurus, the most famous and successful garum producer in the entire city. His mark, a mosaic of a black jar depicting a flower, is on the finest amphorae of fish sauce sold in Rome itself. Your curiosity, a morbid fascination that overpowers your disgust, compels you to see his operation firsthand. You follow the directions of a dock worker, leaving the main bustling harbor and walking towards a quieter, more industrial section of the waterfront. You know you are getting close when the smell, which was already overwhelming, somehow becomes even more powerful. It is a focused, concentrated, and almost physically solid force. You round a corner and see the source, a large, walled, open-air courtyard. This is the officina, the factory of Scaurus. The entrance is a simple, wide gateway. There are no grand decorations, no marble statues. This is a place of pure, functional industry. You step inside and you are plunged into the heart of the stench. It is so powerful here that it makes you gag. The air is thick with a shimmering black cloud of flies, a constant buzzing curtain that you have to wave away from your face with every step. The ground is not clean stone, but a hard-packed earth, stained, dark, and salty from years of spilled brine and fish guts. The courtyard is dominated by the vats. They are called citerii, great, square, stone-lined basins set directly into the earth, each one as large as a small room. There are dozens of them, arranged in neat, orderly rows under the full, baking glare of the sun. Some are empty, their stone sides being scrubbed clean by sweating slaves. Others are full, their contents hidden beneath a thick, dark crust. Scours himself, a large man whose fine linen tunic cannot quite conceal the belly that speaks of great wealth, greets you with a proud, booming laugh. He sees the look of horror on your face. "Ah, the sweet smell of profit, my Gallic friend," he bellows, clapping you on the back. "This is where the magic happens. Come, let me show you the art of it." He leads you first to a section of the courtyard where several large carts are being unloaded. The carts are filled with the raw materials of his trade. He gestures to the first one. It is a mountain of small silvery fish, anchovies, sardines, and mackerel, the oily, strong-flavored fish of the poor. But the second cart is what truly turns your stomach. It is filled with great wicker baskets, and the baskets are overflowing with the bloody, slimy, and glistening entrails of larger fish. You see the intestines, the gills, the heads, and the dock, clotted blood of tuna and moray eels, the refuse from the city's main fish market. "The secret is in the guts," Scaurus says with the pride of a master chef revealing his recipe. "That is where the true flavor lies. The gods have placed the soul of the fish in its entrails." He then points to a great, glittering white pile in the corner of the yard. It is a mountain of coarse sea salt, brought by ship from the salt pans of Sicily. And that, he says, is the guardian. It is the salt that guides the spirit of the fish, that prevents the rot from becoming a poison and transforms it into a delicacy. He leads you to an empty vat and begins to explain the process. It is a kind of brutal, stinking lasagna. First, a thick layer of salt on the bottom, he explains. Then, a layer of the small fish. Then more salt. Then a layer of the entrails. More salt. Then we add the sacred herbs, fennel, oregano, mint, to give it character. He speaks with a passion and precision that is deeply unsettling, given the subject matter. When the vat is full, a final thick layer of salt is placed on top to seal it, and then it is left. He gestures to the rows of full, sealed vats, their surfaces baking in the sun. "We leave it to the gods and to the sun," he says. "For 2 months, sometimes 3. The sun is the greatest cook of all. It does not just rot the fish, it coaxes the juices out. The heat causes the fish to digest itself, to dissolve into a rich, salty liquor. The salt, as you see, draws out the water and ensures that only the proper noble rot takes place." He leads you to a vat that has been fermenting for a month. He takes a long wooden paddle and cracks the thick, salt-encrusted surface. A wave of a new, even more powerful stench washes over you, and you take an involuntary step back. The contents are a thick, bubbling, brownish-gray sludge, a horrifying primordial soup of decay. You stare into the vat, a vision from the underworld, and you try to reconcile this vile, bubbling mess with the delicate, expensive sauce that is served in the finest houses in Rome. You cannot understand how one can possibly become the other. It is a form of alchemy, a transformation of the profane into the prized, a process that seems to defy all reason. This is not cooking. This is a carefully managed and highly skilled process of industrial-scale putrefaction. You are a witness to the birth of a flavor from the very essence of death and decay. You stand before the open vat, a cauldron of bubbling gray-brown decay, and you feel a profound sense of cultural dislocation. In your homeland of Gaul, food is a simple, honest thing. It is roasted meat, fresh bread, good cheese. It is the product of green fields and clean rivers. This is something else entirely. It is a work of alchemy, of controlled putrefaction, a process that seems to be a deliberate insult to the very idea of fresh, wholesome food. You look at your host, the proud, umbricious Scaris, and you see not a food producer, but a kind of high priest of rot, a man who has found a way to spin gold from the very essence of decay. Scaris, seeing the look of profound horror on your face, lets out another booming laugh. "Ah, yes," he says, "it is not a sight for the uninitiated. It is a violent birth. But the child that is born from this chaos, my friend, is a thing of pure beauty. Come, let me show you the end of the journey." He leads you away from the bubbling, fermenting vats, away from the raw, chaotic energy of the factory's beginning, and towards a different section of the great sun-drenched courtyard. The air here is still thick with the same powerful, pungent stench, but the work being done is quieter, more refined, more like a winery than the charnel house you have just witnessed. Here, the vats are different. They are older, their contents having sat undisturbed under the sun for the full 3 months of their transformation. The violent bubbling has ceased. The thick, churning sludge has settled. You peer over the edge of one, and you can see that the contents have separated into distinct layers. At the bottom is a thick, gray, almost solid-looking paste. Above it is a murky, dark liquid, and floating on the very top is a thin, almost clear, golden amber fluid shimmering in the sunlight. The process is complete, Scaris says with a reverent hush, as if he were in a temple. The fish has given up its soul. The salt has purified it. The sun has transformed it. Now we harvest. He gestures to 2 slaves who are standing by, holding a large, round, and finely woven wicker basket. This is their sieve. With great care, they lower the basket into the vat, pushing it down gently into the dark liquid until only its rim is visible above the surface. Patience now. Scaris murmurs, more to himself than to you. This is the most delicate part. You watch, fascinated, in spite of your disgust. Slowly, miraculously, a liquid begins to seep through the fine mesh of the basket. But it is not the murky, brown liquid from the vat. It is the pure, golden fluid from the very top. It pools inside the basket, a clear, beautiful, amber liquor. "Behold," Scaris says, his voice filled with pride. "The floscarum, the flower of the sauce, the very first pressing. This is the purest essence, the most potent and valuable liquor that the process yields." He takes a small, clean pottery cup and dips it into the liquid that has collected in the basket. He holds it up to the sun. The liquid is the color of fine honey, perfectly translucent, with a reddish-golden hue. It catches the light like a jewel. You stare at it. Dumbfounded, it is impossible to believe that this beautiful, clear liquid was born from the gray, bubbling sludge of rotting fish guts you saw just moments ago. "This," Scaris says, swirling the cup gently, "is what the Emperor puts on his table. This is what the senators pay a fortune for. A single small amphora of this floscarum is worth more than all the wine on your ship, my friend." After the precious flour has been carefully ladled out, the next stage begins. The remaining, thicker mash in the vat is scooped out and placed into a large screw press, a great, heavy wooden machine. 2 slaves begin to turn the massive screw, and a new liquid is squeezed out. This liquid is cloudier, a milky brownish color. "This is the common garum," Scaris explains. "Still of excellent quality, the heart of any good kitchen in this city." This is what makes a chef's reputation. Finally, when the press has yielded all the liquid it can, the work is still not done. The dry, pasty, grayish sludge that remains is scraped out of the press and the bottom of the vats. It is a thick, coarse paste, and you can see the tiny, pulverized fragments of fish bones and scales glittering within it. And this, Scaurus says, pointing to the mound of gray paste, is Alec. It is the body after the soul has been taken. It is strong, intensely salty, and very nutritious. The poor buy it by the spoonful to spread on their bread. The entire Roman army marches with this in its belly. It gives a simple bowl of porridge the taste of the sea. Nothing is wasted. From a single vat of rot, we produce a sauce for an emperor, a condiment for a merchant, and a sustenance for a legionary. He then leads you into a cool, dark warehouse adjacent to the courtyard. The change from the bright, stinking sun to the cool, quiet dark is a relief. The warehouse is vast, and it is filled, from floor to ceiling, with thousands of clay amphorae. They are stacked in neat, orderly rows, a silent, terracotta army. You can see the painted labels, the pitacii on their sides. Garum floss, ex officina scauri, the flower of garum from the factory of Scaurus. You stand in the cool silence of the warehouse, the powerful smell of the factory still clinging to your clothes. You have seen the entire shocking process, from the raw, bloody entrails to this final, refined, and incredibly valuable product. The disgust is still there, a knot in your stomach, but it is now mingled with a strange, grudging respect. This is not just rot. It is a complex, skilled, and transformative industry. It is an alchemy. Scaurus watches you, a knowing smile on his face. He can see the war of disgust and fascination in your eyes. You have seen how it is born, he says, his voice a low, inviting rumble. That is the ugly, necessary truth. But you have not seen how it lives. You must come to my villa tonight. You will be my guest at my table, and you will taste it. You will taste the soul of the fish. The sun begins to set, painting the slopes of Mount Vesuvius in hues of deep purple and soft orange. The oppressive heat of the day gives way to a pleasant, balmy evening. You have spent the afternoon conducting your business in the city, the negotiations for your woolen cloaks, but your mind has been haunted by the memory of the garum factory. The ghost of that powerful, pungent stench seems to have clung to the inside of your nostrils. A constant reminder of the vile process you witnessed. Now, you find yourself on a rented mule, climbing a winding path out of the bustling city and into the serene, wealthy hillsides where the Roman elite have built their villas. You are on your way to dine with Aulus Umbricius Scaurus, a prospect that fills you with a mixture of social obligation and profound dread. As you ascend, the air changes. The thick, salty, and fishy miasma of the port city is left behind, replaced by the clean, fragrant air of the countryside. You can smell the sweet perfume of night-blooming jasmine, the earthy scent of the vineyards, and the sharp, clean aroma of pine trees. It is a different world up here. You arrive at the Villa of Scaurus. It is not a fortress, but a palace of pleasure. You are greeted at the entrance by a slave who leads you into the atrium, a magnificent open-air courtyard. In the center, a large rectangular opening in the roof, the compluvium, allows the last of the evening light to fall upon a shallow marble pool below, the impluvium, its surface perfectly still. The walls of the atrium are covered in breathtaking frescoes, vibrant, balmert, colorful paintings of mythological scenes, of gods and goddesses feasting and loving. The floors are not stone, but intricate mosaics, tiny colored tiles forming images of leaping dolphins and intricate geometric patterns. The only sounds are the gentle splashing of a fountain in a distant garden and the soft music of a lyre being played by an unseen musician. This is the house that Garum built. The staggering opulence, the serene beauty, the sheer unapologetic luxury. It was all paid for by the industrial-scale putrefaction of fish guts in those stinking vats you saw this morning. The contrast is so profound, it makes you feel dizzy. You are led to the triclinium, the dining room. There are no chairs. 3 wide, cushioned couches are arranged in a U-shape around a low, intricately carved wooden table. Scaurus, your host, is already reclining, a wreath of roses on his head. He greets you warmly and gestures for you to take your place on one of the couches. It is an awkward, unfamiliar posture for a Gaul like you, but you recline as gracefully as you can, propping yourself up on your left elbow. The other guests, a wealthy wine merchant and a local magistrate, are already in conversation. Slaves move silently through the room, their feet bare on the cool mosaic floor, offering bowls of scented water to wash your hands. The first course, the gustatio, is served. It is a simple, elegant affair. Small black olives glistening with oil, hard-boiled quail eggs, and slices of fresh melon. The wine, a fine Falernian, is poured, mixed with cool water from the villa's well. The conversation is light, the atmosphere relaxed, but in the back of your mind, the memory of the bubbling gray sludge is a constant, nauseating presence. You are simply waiting for the inevitable moment when the product of that horror will be presented to you. The main course, the prime mense, arrives with a flourish. 2 slaves carry in a massive silver platter, upon which rests a whole roasted wild boar, its skin cooked to a perfect, crispy brown, its tusks decorated with gilded leaves. It is a magnificent sight, a testament to the bounty of the land. The boar is carved with expert precision. A slave places a thick, steaming slice of the rich, succulent meat onto your plate. And then another slave approaches. He is not carrying a platter of food. He holds a single, small, and impossibly elegant vial made of clear, iridescent glass. Inside is a liquid the color of pure golden amber. You recognize it instantly. It is the flos garum, the flower of the sauce, the precious, first press liquid you saw being so carefully extracted from the vats this morning. With the reverence of a priest anointing an altar, the slave uncorks the vial and carefully, delicately drizzles a small amount of the golden liquid over your slice of roasted boar. The sauce glistens on the hot meat. This is the moment of truth. You look down at your plate. The memory of the rotting entrails, the thick cloud of flies, the almost unbearable stench of the factory, it all comes rushing back to you. Your stomach turns. To eat this feels like a violation of some fundamental law of nature. You can see Scaurus watching you, a knowing, amused glint in his eye. He is waiting for your reaction. You cannot refuse. It would be a mortal insult to your host. You take your small eating knife, cut a tiny piece of the sauce-drizzled meat, and lift it to your mouth. You brace yourself for a taste of pure, rotten fish. You place it on your tongue, and the world changes. There is no rot. There is no decay. The taste is not the foul, fishy horror you anticipated. It is a profound and complex explosion of flavor. The first note is an intense, clean saltiness, a taste of the pure sea. But beneath that salt is something else, something you have never tasted before. It is a deep, savory, almost meaty flavor that is not the taste of the boar itself. It is a flavor that seems to hit the very back of your tongue and radiate through your entire head. It is the taste of pure, concentrated savoriness. The garum does not taste like fish. It tastes like the very essence of what makes savory food delicious. And it transforms the meat it touches. The roasted boar, which would have been delicious on its own, is now something else entirely. The garum does not cover its flavor, it amplifies it. The meat tastes richer, more complex, more intensely itself. The savory notes are heightened, the fat is balanced by the salt, and a new, deep, and incredibly satisfying flavor emerges. You close your eyes for a moment, trying to comprehend this miracle. You finally understand the paradox. The vile, stinking process of putrefaction, when guided by the sacred hand of salt and the slow, alchemical fire of the sun, does not create a flavor of rot. It breaks down the fish into its most basic, most essential components, and in doing so, it isolates and concentrates the very soul of savoriness. You open your eyes and look at Scaurus. He is smiling. He knows you understand now. You look around at the beautiful frescoes, at the laughing guests, at the magnificent villa. You understand that this entire world of refined, decadent luxury is not built in spite of the stinking vats by the harbor. It is built because of them. It is a civilization that has mastered the art of taking the vilest, most profane refuse of the sea and transforming it, through a process of controlled decay, into a taste so divine it is fit for an emperor. You take another bite of the boar, this time not with apprehension, but with a deep intellectual fascination. You have tasted the secret of Rome. It is a strange, powerful, and deeply unsettling flavor. You leave the Roman villa, the strained, savory, and unsettling taste of garum still a ghost on your tongue. It is a flavor born of a carefully managed decay, a luxury created from the vilest refuse of the sea. But not all strange foods of the ancient world were born of such a dark alchemy. Some were a gift from the earth itself, a treasure so rare and so desirable that their very existence was a source of wealth, of war, and ultimately of their own tragic demise. Now, our journey takes us backwards in time and across the sea to a different shore. We leave the smoky, bustling world of Roman Pompeii and travel to the bright, sun-drenched coast of North Africa, to the prosperous and powerful Greek colonial city of Cyrene. The year is 300 BCE. You are not a merchant. You are a man of consequence, a magistrate of the city, an agoranomos, an overseer of the markets, and, more importantly, the city treasury. And today is one of the most important days of the season. It is the day the harvest arrives. You stand on the steps of the city's treasury, a formidable stone building in the heart of the city, and you watch the procession approach. This is not the humble procession of a grain or olive harvest. This is a procession worthy of a king's ransom. At its head ride 10 mounted soldiers, their bronze armor and helmets flashing in the bright African sun. Behind them, a dozen more soldiers on foot flank a series of carefully guarded wagons, each one pulled by 4 strong mules. The streets are lined with the citizens of Cyrene, their faces a mixture of pride and reverence. They are watching the arrival of the source of all their wealth, the lifeblood of their city. The wagons are not filled with sacks of grain or amphorae of wine. They are filled, carefully and reverently, with the stalks and roots of a plant. This is Sophium. The wagons draw to a halt before you, and the work begins under your direct and watchful eye. You are the keeper of the city's treasure, and this is its most precious form. Slaves under the watch of the soldiers begin to carefully unload the cargo. They carry the plants into the cool, dark interior of the treasury. The air is immediately filled with a powerful, strange, and beautiful aroma. It is a clean, pungent, and deeply aromatic scent, something like a cross between strong celery, fresh parsley, and a sweet, resinous perfume. It is the scent of wealth, the smell of the most desirable flavor in the entire Hellenistic world. You look at the plant itself. It seems, to an uninitiated eye, to be an unremarkable thing. It has a thick, stocky stem, like a giant fennel. The leaves are small and delicate, and some of the plants are topped with a burst of small yellow flowers. But you are an expert. You know its secrets. You know that the stalks can be boiled or roasted and eaten as a vegetable, a delicacy prized in the kitchens of Athens and Alexandria. You know that the roots can be grated and used to create an expensive, exotic perfume. But the true treasure, the source of its almost mythical value, is in its sap. You watch as a senior priest takes one of the thicker stalks and with a small, sharp bronze knife makes a careful incision. A thick, milky, almost opalescent sap immediately begins to well up. This sap, when dried, will form a resin. That resin is known as laser, and it is the most expensive and sought-after spice and medicine in the world. Your primary duty today is to record the weight. Inside the treasury, a great bronze scale has been set up. On one side sits a series of heavy, marked silver weights. On the other, the slaves carefully pile the silphium stalks. You watch the beam of the scale with a hawk's intensity as a scribe, his stylus poised over a soft clay tablet, records the official weight of the harvest. This is a plant that is literally worth its weight in silver. You know the reason for its value is not just its unique, pungent flavor, which is prized by the greatest chefs to sprinkle over roasted lamb or to flavor a rich sauce. Nor is it just its use as a perfume. Its true, secret value, the reason a wealthy woman in Corinth or a courtesan in Egypt will pay a fortune for a small piece of the dried resin, is its power over the body. It is the ancient world's most effective and reliable medicine for preventing a pregnancy. And its ultimate value comes from a simple geographical fact. It cannot be cultivated. It grows wild, and only here, in a narrow 50-mile strip of the dry inland hills of Cyrenaica. Your city, Cyrene, holds the absolute and total monopoly on this miraculous plant. It is a gift from the god Apollo, and it is a gift that has made your city rich beyond the dreams of others. You stamp the image of the silphium's heart-shaped seed on your silver coins. The plant is your money. It is your power. It is your identity. As you watch the last of the wagons being unloaded, you make a quiet observation. You turn to the captain of the guard, an old, sun-beaten man who has overseen this harvest procession for 20 years. The yield seems lighter than last season, you remark, your voice low. The captain nods, his face grim. It is, my lord, he says. The harvesters say they must travel further into the hills each year. The plant grows shy. The land that it loves is shrinking. You feel a faint, almost imperceptible prick of anxiety, but you push it away. The vaults are still being filled with the precious, aromatic stalks. The wealth is still pouring in. You stand in the treasury, the air thick with the beautiful, exotic perfume of the silphium. It is the smell of a flavor so beloved, so valuable, that the world is prepared to consume every last stalk of it. And you are the guardian of that process. You are the keeper of a treasure whose very desirability is slowly, imperceptibly leading it down the path to utter extinction. The great bronze doors of the city treasury are sealed. The harvest, a king's ransom in aromatic stalks and roots, is safe within its stone walls. Your official duties for the day are complete. But your understanding of silphium is not. To truly comprehend the power of this plant, you must leave the world of wholesale accounting and enter the world of retail desire. You must go to the agora. You walk through the sun-drenched streets of Cyrene. It is a city of clean white marble and ordered beauty. The air is clear and smells of the sea. You arrive at the agora, the great public marketplace, a bustling open square surrounded by elegant colonnades. This is the heart of the city's life, a chaotic and vibrant symphony of commerce and conversation. Merchants shout their wares from behind tables laden with goods from across the known world. Fine painted pottery from Athens, gleaming glassware from Phoenicia, strong, dark wine from the islands of the Aegean. But you walk past all of this. Your destination is a small, quiet, and exceptionally well-guarded stall, tucked away in the most prestigious corner of the agora. This is the only place in the world where a private citizen can legally purchase silphium. It is not a boisterous, open stall. It is more like the shop of a jeweler or a moneylender. A stern-looking city guard, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword, stands at one side. Behind a polished wooden counter stands a meticulous, officially appointed merchant, his face a mask of professional discretion. You stand in the shade of a nearby marble column, observing. Here, in this small space, you will witness the two secret desires that drive the immense value of this strange plant. First, you see the public desire. The steward of a wealthy noble's household, a man with an air of immense self-importance, approaches the counter. He is here for flavor. A measure of the finest laser, he announces, his voice loud enough for those nearby to hear and appreciate his master's wealth. The merchant nods. He does not deal in stalks or roots here, only in the precious, dried resin. He produces a small, dark block of the amber-colored resin, the concentrated soul of the silphium plant. With a tiny, razor-sharp knife, he carefully shaves a few paper-thin slivers from the block onto a delicate bronze scale. He weighs it against a silver drachma coin. The transaction is one of quiet, expensive precision. The steward places the small, fragrant slivers into a tiny, sealed pouch and departs, his head held high. You know exactly how that resin will be used. It will be grated, a fine, pungent dust over a roasted leg of lamb, or mixed into a sauce of honey and vinegar to dress a baked fish. It will provide a unique, sharp, and delicious flavor that proclaims, more effectively than any words, the host's immense wealth and refined palate. This is the open, celebrated reason for silphium's fame. But then, you witness the second, and far more powerful, reason. A different kind of customer approaches the stall. It is a woman, her station made clear by the fineness of her linen chiton. But her face is obscured by a discreet veil. Her movements are not proud and loud, but quiet, swift, and anxious. She does not speak in a clear voice, but leans in and murmurs to the merchant, her words a soft, urgent whisper. You cannot hear what she says, but you do not need to. You are a magistrate of this city. You know exactly what she is asking for. She is not here for flavor. She is here for the plant's deepest and most powerful secret. She is here for the cure. This is the whispered truth of silphium, the truth that underpins its almost magical value. It is the ancient world's most effective and most famous contraceptive. You have seen the medical texts of the great physicians. You know the prescriptions by heart. A single dose of the resin, the size of a chickpea, dissolved in wine and drunk once a month, is said to prevent conception. A larger dose, or a preparation made from the plant's heart-shaped seeds, is said to bring forth the menses, a delicate euphemism for its power to end a pregnancy that has already begun. In a world with almost no reliable methods of controlling one's own fertility, this power is a thing of almost unimaginable value. For the high-status courtesan, it is the key to her professional independence. For the noblewoman, it is a way to secretly manage the size and timing of her family, to control the dangerous and often fatal process of childbirth. It is the gift of liberty, a small measure of control over one's own body, a secret held by the women who could afford its astronomical price. The merchant, his face betraying nothing, listens to the woman's whisper. He turns, and from a separate locked box, he retrieves not the resin, but a small, sealed pouch containing what you know to be the plant's distinctive, heart-shaped seeds. The price, you are certain, is even higher than what the steward paid. The woman pays with a clink of unseen coins, takes the small pouch and melts back into the crowd of the agora, her secret and her security held tightly in her hand. You stand in the shade of the colonnade and reflect on the strange dual nature of this plant. It is the source of a fleeting public pleasure for the palate, and the source of a profound secret power over life itself. It is a spice for men's feasts, and a medicine for women's freedom. You look at the small guarded stall, the only place on earth where these two powerful desires can be satisfied. You think of the captain's words from the day before. The plant grows shy. And you realize that the ravenous hunger you are witnessing, both the shouted public demand for its flavor and the desperate whispered demand for its secret cure, is a force of nature in itself. A force that the dwindling harvest may soon and very suddenly be unable to feed. The seasons turn. The years pass. The demand you witnessed in the agora of Cyrene does not wane. It only grows. The city comes under the sway of the ever-expanding power of Rome, and with this new connection, the desire for its unique treasure explodes across an even wider world. Wealthy Romans, with their insatiable appetites for the exotic and the luxurious, now crave the pungent flavor and the whispered medicinal power of silphium. The price, already high, becomes astronomical. The city of Cyrene, for a time, becomes wealthier and more powerful than ever before. But the plant continues to grow shy. Our journey now jumps forward in time. It is a century later. You are no longer a confident Greek magistrate overseeing a bountiful harvest. You are a Roman governor, sent from the capital to oversee this increasingly troublesome and anxious province. And the mood in the city is no longer one of pride, but of a quiet, gnawing panic. Today is the day the harvest is due to return. But there is no grand procession. There is no line of citizens waiting to cheer the arrival of their wealth. The streets are quiet, the mood sullen. You stand on the steps of the treasury, the same building as before. But you are not waiting with confidence. You are waiting with a sense of profound dread. You see them in the distance, a small, pathetic-looking column of men and mules, kicking up a cloud of dust on the road from the inland hills. It is the harvesting party, and as they draw closer, you can see the truth. The wagons are not laden with fragrant green stalks. They are almost empty. The leader of the harvesters, an old man from a local Libyan tribe whose family has held the sacred knowledge of finding the plant for generations, approaches you. His face is a mask of weary defeat. He does not bow. He simply stops before you and gestures to the single, half-empty wagon. "This is all that remains, my lord," he says, his voice a dry, dusty whisper. "The earth has forgotten how to make it." He and his men have been gone for 2 months, twice as long as usual. He tells you the story. It is a story of a desperate, fruitless search. They traveled for weeks, far beyond the traditional grazing lands where the plant once grew in abundance. They found nothing but dry, cracked earth. The sheep, he explains, have eaten the land bare for generations. The sheep of Cyrenaica have been prized for their meat, which we said to take on the delicious flavor of the silphium they grazed upon. And so, in their hunger for savory lamb, the people have allowed their flocks to destroy the very plant that gave it its value. He tells you they traveled into the high, remote valleys, to places their grandfathers had never needed to go. And there, in a few small, sheltered pockets, they found the last of the silphium. Not the thick, robust stalks of legend, but thin, weak, and pathetic-looking plants. He brings you the entire harvest. It is not enough to fill a single wagon. It is a handful of thin, wilting stalks. It is a ghost. The news spreads through the city like a plague. Panic, which has been a low murmur for years, now becomes a loud, open cry. The city council meets in a secret, terrified session. The source of your entire economy, the foundation of your city's identity for 500 years, is gone. Merchants who have taken vast sums of Roman silver as prepayment for this year's harvest will be ruined, their debts called in, their businesses destroyed. You go down into the vaults of the great treasury. The vast storerooms, which you know from the old ledgers, were once filled to the rafters with the beautiful, aromatic scent of the harvest, are now mostly empty. They smell of little more than dust, stone, and the faint, ghostly memory of a long-vanished perfume. In the very center of the main vault, there is a single, small, and heavily guarded iron chest. Inside is the last of the city's official reserve. A few pounds of the dried, priceless resin, a treasure now more valuable and far rarer than gold. In the agora, chaos reigns. The official merchant's stall is closed, its counter bare. But a new, ruthless black market has sprung to life in the city's back alleys. You hear the reports. Shady dealers are selling common giant fennel, its roots soaked in asafoetida to mimic the pungent smell of the real thing. And they are selling it to desperate, gullible buyers for exorbitant prices. The city's great treasure has become a tool for charlatans and thieves. You stand on the steps of the treasury, the hot, dry wind of Africa on your face. The old harvester, his duty done, has disappeared back into the hills. You are left holding a single, thin, and pathetic stalk of the last harvest. You crush one of its small, heart-shaped seeds between your fingers. A faint, beautiful, and heartbreakingly final puff of its unique scent rises to your nose. You understand, with a clarity that is both devastating and profound, that you are not just witnessing an economic collapse. You are witnessing an extinction. You are holding the end of a species, a life form that has been literally loved to death. Its flavor so prized, its secret power so desired, that humanity has consumed every last root and stalk of it from the face of the earth. The most sought-after taste of the ancient world is about to become a memory, and your city, a shining jewel built on the wealth of that single miraculous plant, must now face a future without its soul. The city of Cyrene does not recover. The loss of its great treasure, the silphium plant, that was the very soul of its economy, is a mortal blow. The once bustling port grows quiet. The wealthy merchant houses fall into ruin. The city, which once commanded the respect of Athens and Rome, slowly fades into a provincial backwater, a living ghost haunted by the memory of a beautiful aromatic perfume that no longer graces its air. The treasure vaults, once filled with the priceless harvest, now hold only dust and the dry, rustling scrolls of old ledgers that tell of a forgotten prosperity. The world moves on. The memory of the flavor of silphium begins to fade, becoming a legend, a story told by old men of a taste they can no longer quite recall. Our journey takes one final leap forward in time, to the heart of the Roman Empire, in the middle of the 1st century AD. We are in the court of the Emperor Nero. This is a world of almost unimaginable excess. It is a world where pearls are dissolved in wine for the sheer, decadent pleasure of drinking a fortune, where nightingales' tongues are served on platters of gold, where the appetites of one man, the emperor, can reshape the trade routes of the world. Nero is a connoisseur, not just of power, but of novelty, of rarity. He craves experiences that no other human can have, and there is no experience rarer than tasting the last of something. From the now poor and struggling province of Cyrenaica, a final, desperate tribute is sent to the emperor. It is not gold, for the province has little left. It is not exotic animals for the games. It is a thing far more precious. The magistrates of Cyrene, after a long and desperate search of their ancient treasury, have found it. The very last stalk of silphium known to exist on the face of the earth. It has been preserved for decades, a dry, withered, and almost holy relic of their glorious past. It is the last of its kind. You are a scribe in the imperial court, and you are there to witness the presentation. The ambassadors from Cyrene, two old, stooped men in faded robes, approach the emperor's throne with a tragic, solemn ceremony. They carry a small, sealed cedar box. Before the emperor, they open it. Inside, resting on a bed of faded purple silk, is the plant. It is a dry, brittle, and pathetic-looking thing, a ghost of the vibrant green stalk it once was. But as the box is opened, a faint, but unmistakable, aroma rises into the air of the court. It is the legendary scent of silphium, a powerful, pungent, and beautifully complex perfume that no one in this room has ever smelled before. It is the smell of a forgotten world. The ambassadors presented to Nero with a long, flowery speech about their eternal loyalty and this, their most precious and final gift. Nero is not listening to their words. His eyes are fixed on the plant. He is not a historian. He feels no sense of tragedy at this moment of extinction. He is a glutton, and he is about to consume the rarest food in the world. He takes the stalk, a strange look of intense, childish pleasure on his face. He does not send it to be studied by his physicians or preserved by his archivists. He sends it to his kitchens. The imperial kitchens are thrown into a state of reverent panic. The greatest chefs in Rome are summoned. How does one prepare the last plant of its kind on earth? What dish is worthy of such a final, unrepeatable ingredient? After much debate, a simple preparation is chosen. The stalk is to be gently roasted over a smokeless fire of grapevine charcoal, basted with the finest honey from Hymettus, and sprinkled with a touch of pepper. The goal is not to mask its flavor, but to honor it, to allow its unique essence to be the star of the dish. The dish is prepared. The single, small, roasted stalk of silphium is placed on a simple plate of pure gold and brought before the emperor. He is dining alone tonight, for this is an experience he will not share. You can imagine the scene. The Emperor Nero, the most powerful man in the world, sitting in his gilded dining hall. Before him is the last member of an entire species. He picks it up with his fingers. He brings it to his lips, and he takes a bite. What does he taste? He tastes a flavor that has been praised by poets and playwrights for 500 years. He tastes the pungent, aromatic, and utterly unique flavor that has driven the economies of nations. He tastes a sharp, clean, and profoundly savory note, a flavor that is like nothing else on earth. He, and he alone, is the last human being who will ever know the true taste of silphium. He eats it slowly, deliberately, savoring every last fiber, not with a sense of the immense tragic weight of the moment, but with the simple, selfish, and fleeting pleasure of a connoisseur consuming the ultimate rarity. When he is finished, it is over. The plate is empty. The species is extinct. The flavor that defined the cuisine of the classical world is now gone from the earth forever. All that is left now are the stories. The histories of Pliny the Elder, who recorded this very event. The images of the plant's heart-shaped seed stamped on the ancient, useless coins of a faded city. The mystery. We can analyze the texts. We can speculate on its botanical family. But we can never, ever know. We leave the story of silphium here, in the empty, golden plate of a decadent emperor. It is the story of a food so beloved, so prized for both its flavor and its secret power, that it was literally eaten into non-existence. It is a strange and cautionary tale about the insatiable hunger of humanity and the profound, irreversible fragility of the gifts of the natural world. The flavor of silphium is a ghost, a beautiful and poignant memory of a taste lost to the excesses of the past. But not all of antiquity's strange foods were wild, rare, and tragic. Some are the product of meticulous, patient, and very strange farming. Some delicacies were not hunted in distant lands, but were carefully, deliberately, and quietly cultivated in the darkness. Our journey takes us now from the bright, sun-drenched shores of Greek Libya back to the heart of the Roman world, to the rolling, vine-covered hills of Etruria. The year is 50 AD, a time of immense wealth and extravagant tastes. You are not a magistrate or a merchant. You are a slave, a service, on the vast country estate of a wealthy Roman senator. While other slaves toil under the hot sun in the fields or in the roaring heat of the kitchens, you have been given a unique, quiet, and highly responsible position. Your world is a cool, dark room in the cellar of the great villa. You are the Glirus. You are the keeper of the dormice. You begin your day not with the rising of the sun, but in the perpetual twilight of your domain. You take a small, flickering oil lamp and descend the stone steps into the cellar. The air here is cool and still, a welcome relief from the oppressive summer heat outside. It smells of damp earth, old wine from the amphorae stored in the adjoining room, and something else, a faint, nutty, and distinctly animal scent. This is your workshop. It is a quiet, orderly place. Along one wall, stacked neatly on wooden shelves, are dozens of large, beautifully made terracotta jars. They are your primary tools, your responsibility, and the source of one of your master's most prized delicacies. These are the gliraria. You walk to the first jar and lift its heavy terracotta lid. You peer inside. The interior is a strange and intricate world in miniature. The clay walls are smooth, glazed to prevent the inhabitants from gaining a foothold and escaping. 2 small separate troughs are built into the floor of the jar, one for food, one for water. And most ingeniously, a series of ridges forms a spiral ramp along the inside of the jar, a tiny, circular staircase that allows the animals to exercise. Small holes have been pierced in the sides of the jar, not to let light in, but to allow air to circulate. Each glirarium is a self-contained, purpose-built luxury apartment for a single, very special kind of rodent. From within, a small creature with large black eyes and a surprisingly bushy tail, like that of a squirrel, looks up at you. This is Glisglis, the edible dormouse, a creature prized by Roman gourmands for its delicate, fatty meat. Your job is a strange form of animal husbandry. You are a farmer, but your fields are these clay pots, and your livestock are these sleepy, gentle rodents. Your daily routine is one of quiet, meticulous care. You move from jar to jar, your movements slow and deliberate, so as not to startle the animals. You check the water trough in each, refilling it with fresh, cool water from a small jug. You clean out the waste with a long, thin metal scraper. And most importantly, you check the food. The goal of your work is not to keep these animals healthy in a natural sense. The goal is to make them fat. Plumpness is the only metric of your success. In the wild, these creatures would hibernate, storing up fat for the long winter. Here in the cool, perpetual darkness of your cellar, you are tricking their bodies into a constant state of pre-hibernation gluttony. A fat dormouse served as an exotic appetizer at a feast is a powerful symbol of your master's wealth and the quality of his household. It is a sign that he can afford not just the animal, but the specialized slave and the expensive food required to cultivate it. You reflect on the strangeness of your duty. You are of Greek origin, captured in a provincial war, and your education was in letters and philosophy. Now you spend your days in a dark room, tending to the comfort of mice. Other slaves on the estate perform tasks of obvious, back-breaking labor. They kill the fields, they harvest the grapes, they press the olives. Their work is hot, sweaty, and produces the staples of life. Your work is cool, quiet, and solitary. You produce a luxury, a tiny, almost absurd morsel of food that will be consumed in a single bite by a man who will never know your name. But you also understand the responsibility of your position. This is not a menial task. These animals are valuable. A single, perfectly fattened dormouse ready for the kitchens is worth more than a day's wage for a free legionary. An entire jar full represents a small fortune. If a disease were to sweep through your colony, if you were to carelessly allow a handful of them to escape, if they do not grow fat enough to please the master's cook, the punishment would be severe. You would be sent to the fields, or worse, to the quarries. And so, you perform your strange, quiet duties with the focused diligence of a priest tending a sacred flame. You complete your morning rounds. You have cleaned every jar. You have provided fresh water. Now it is time to feed them. You turn to the great storage bins at the far end of the room. This is the final, crucial element of your craft. You do not feed them simple grain. You feed them a diet of pure luxury. You scoop out a measure of walnuts, of sweet chestnuts, of rich acorns, all carefully shelled and chopped by a kitchen boy. This is the food that will create the delicate, nutty flavor and the prized, rich fat that the master so desires. You place a small handful of the chopped nuts into each food trough. The quiet, sleepy room is suddenly filled with the soft, contented rustling and nibbling of your charges as they begin to eat. You place the heavy lid back on the last glorarium, plunging the small creature back into its comfortable, well-fed darkness. Your work for the morning is done. You are a farmer of a very strange and very precious kind of livestock. A quiet cultivator of a luxury that thrives in the dark, readying your small, fat treasures for the master's next great feast. Your life as the Gliarius settles into a strange, quiet, and unvarying rhythm. The world outside your cellar changes with the grand, dramatic shifts of the seasons. The summer sun bakes the fields of the estate to a golden brown, the air filled with the buzzing of insects and the shouts of the field slaves. Autumn arrives with the frantic, joyous energy of the grape harvest, the smell of fermenting wine, must filling the air. Winter brings a chill that silences the world under a blanket of frost. But your world remains the same. Your world is the cool, still, perpetual twilight of the cellar, a place outside of time, governed not by the sun, but by the slow, patient, and all-important process of creating fat. Your days are a meticulous and silent ritual. You descend the stone steps each morning, leaving the loud, bright world of the villa behind, and enter your quiet subterranean kingdom. You move with a practiced cat-like silence, your footsteps soft on the packed earth floor. You have learned that loud noises are your enemy. A dropped tool, a shouted word, a carelessly slammed door, any of it could startle your charges, filling their small bodies with a nervous energy that burns away the very substance you are trying to create. You are a keeper of the calm. The goal of your profession is a single, beautiful, and monstrous word: plumpness. You are an artist, and your medium is the living flesh of the dormouse. Your task is to transform these small, nimble creatures into tiny, decadent orbs of rich, flavorful fat. This transformation is achieved through a carefully managed science of diet and environment. The darkness is your greatest tool. By keeping the Gluraria in a state of constant, gentle twilight, you encourage the dormice to abandon their wild, energetic natures and embrace a life of sleepy, quiet gluttony. They live in a state of perpetual evening. their bodies always preparing for a hibernation that will never come. But the true art of your craft lies in the food. You are not just a keeper, you are a chef, curating a menu designed for a single purpose. When the dormice are young, recently captured from the wild or born here in the cellar, you feed them a simple diet of millet and occasional grains. This is to build their frame, to create a strong vessel for the riches to come. But as they mature, you begin the true process of fattening, and their diet becomes one of almost obscene luxury. You ascend from the cellar to the great storerooms of the villa, the Horia, and you, a simple slave, are given access to some of the estate's finest produce. You do not take the common acorns used to feed the pigs. You are given a sack of the sweetest chestnuts, harvested from the master's personal grove. You are given the largest and most perfect walnuts, which you must spend hours carefully cracking and shelling, ensuring no bitter pith remains. You become an expert in the subtle properties of food. You learn that chestnuts create a sweet, soft fat. You learn that walnuts add a rich, slightly bitter note to the meat. You learn that a few dried figs, a rare and expensive treat, will make them ravenous for a day, and they will gorge themselves until they are visibly larger. You sometimes add a drizzle of honey to their water, a taste of sweetness in their dark world. You are not just feeding them. You are sculpting their flavor from the inside out. Once every 10 days comes the moment of judgment, the weighing. This is a ritual that fills you with a quiet, professional anxiety. You take a small, delicate bronze scale from its wooden box. You approach one of the jars that holds a dormouse you believe is nearing readiness. You gently lift the creature out. It is no longer the light, quick animal it was weeks ago. It is heavy in your hand, a soft, plump, and surprisingly dense ball of fur and fat. It blinks its large, black eyes at you in the dim lamplight, its movements slow and sleepy. You place it carefully into one of the small curved pans of the scale. In the other, you place a series of small, marked lead weights. You watch the needle with a hawk's intensity. Too light, and the master's cook will sneer, rejecting your offering as unworthy of the table. Too heavy, and you have wasted precious food, and the meat may be tough. There is a perfect weight, a point of sublime, decadent plumpness that you are always striving for. Today, this one is perfect. The needle hovers, perfectly balanced. You feel a strange, quiet surge of pride. In this small, dark, and forgotten corner of the Roman world, you are a master of your craft. You have taken a wild creature, and through patience and expertise, transformed it into a perfect morsel of luxury. This plump, sleepy animal in your hand is a testament to your skill, but your pride is always tinged with a detached, professional melancholy. You are the god of this small, dark universe. You are their sole provider, the guardian of their comfort and their safety. And you are also their executioner. You have nurtured this life for the sole purpose of its consumption. You feel a strange, gentle affection for these soft, quiet creatures, but you know this affection is a liability. They are not pets. They are produce. You hold the small, fat, and perfect dormouse in your palm for a moment longer. It is a living jewel, a product of your patient, meticulous, and deeply strange profession. Its work of eating and sleeping is done. Now, yours must continue. You take it from its quiet, safe, and twilight world, and you begin the short walk towards the noise, the heat, and the terrible finality of the villa's kitchens. You hold the small, plump, and perfectly fattened dormouse in the palm of your hand. Its body is a warm, heavy, and living jewel, a testament to your long, patient, and silent craft. Its work of eating and sleeping in the perpetual twilight is over. Now, your final duty to this creature begins. You must deliver it to the world of fire and knives. You leave the cool, still, and quiet sanctuary of your cellar, carefully carrying your small charge, and you begin the journey to the villa's kitchens. The transition is a slow, sensory ascent from one world to another. As you climb the stone steps, the cool, damp air that smells of earth and terracotta is replaced by the warmer, more complex air of the main villa. You hear the distant, genteel sounds of your master's household, the murmur of conversation, the soft notes of a flute being practiced by one of the lady's maids. Then, as you approach the corridor that leads to the kitchens, the atmosphere changes again, dramatically. The air grows warmer still, thick and humid. The gentle sounds of the villa are drowned out by a rising cacophony of loud, percussive noises. The rhythmic thump, thump, thump of a heavy knife on a wooden block, the clang of bronze pots, the roar of a fire, and the loud, angry shouts of men. You arrive at the threshold of the kitchen, and it is like standing at the gates of Vulcan's forge. The heat hits you first, a solid wall of it, so intense it makes you recoil. The air is thick with smoke, steam, and 100 competing smells that overwhelm the senses. You can smell the rich, savory aroma of a leg of lamb roasting on a great spit, the sharp, tangy scent of vinegar and herbs being boiled for a sauce, the sweet smell of baking bread, and the ever-present, greasy odor of burning olive oil. The kitchen is a cavern of controlled chaos. Slaves, their bodies stripped to the waist and glistening with sweat, rush back and forth on the stone floor. One is pounding spices in a large stone mortar. Another is scrubbing a mountain of dirty dishes in a great basin of steaming water. Younger boys are running, carrying supplies, and desperately trying to stay out of the way of their superiors. And at the center of this hot, loud, and furious world stands the Archimagirus, the head cook. He is a formidable man, a Greek slave whose culinary genius is so prized by your master that he is one of the most valuable pieces of property on the entire estate. He rules this kitchen with an iron ladle and a torrent of creative curses. He is an artist, and this fiery, chaotic space is his studio. You enter his domain, your movements quiet and hesitant. You are a creature of the cool, silent dark. This world of heat and noise is alien to you. You approach the great central table where the cook is directing the butchering of a pig. "Master," you say, your voice a quiet intrusion. He turns, his face red from the heat, his expression annoyed. He sees you, and his look softens slightly. He sees the small, fat creature cupped in your hands. "Ah, the Gliarius," he says, a hint of professional respect in his voice. "You have brought me a gift from the underworld. Let me see it." You step forward and present the dormouse. This is your moment of judgment. The cook is your most important critic. He takes the small animal from you, his large, scarred hands surprisingly gentle. He weighs it in his palm. He runs a thick finger over its plump belly, healing the quality of the fat beneath the fur. He inspects its teeth, its coat. He is a master craftsman, assessing the quality of the raw materials. After a long, silent moment, he gives a single. Sharp nod of approval. "Good," he grunts. "This one is worthy. The fat is excellent. Your work is good, little ghost." It is the highest praise you will receive, and a small, strange surge of professional pride warms your chest. Your work has been judged, and it has been found worthy. Then, with a speed and efficiency that make you flinch, the cook turns to a small, clean block of wood on his table. In a single, swift, and brutal movement that you try not to watch, he ends the small creature's life. The transition from prized, living livestock to simple, raw meat is immediate and absolute. "Stay," the cook commands. "You will watch. You must understand where your patient work leads." You obey, a silent, uncomfortable witness in the corner of the hot kitchen. The cook begins the preparation. It is a work of strange, intricate, and almost grotesque artistry. A recipe you know comes from the famous gourmand Apicius. With a small, sharp knife, he skins the tiny creature. Then, with a skill that is mesmerizing to watch, he carefully removes the minuscule bones, leaving the meat intact. The stuffing is prepared next. This is the detail that elevates the dish from a simple roasted animal to a true Roman delicacy. The cook takes a portion of rich, fatty pork and, using 2 cleavers, minces it on the block until it is a fine paste. To this, he adds the meat from 2 other, less perfect dormice that you had delivered yesterday, ensuring no part of the animal is wasted. He adds a handful of crushed pine nuts, a pinch of black pepper, a spice more valuable than gold, and a dash of garum. He works these ingredients together with his hands, creating a rich, savory, and intensely aromatic stuffing. With delicate, almost surgical precision, he stuffs this mixture back into the tiny, hollowed-out dormouse. He then takes a fine needle and a linen thread and carefully sews the small creature shut, transforming it back into a plump, if now lifeless, form. The final stage is the cooking. The stuffed dormouse is skewered on a tiny metal spit. A kitchen boy is tasked with turning it slowly over a bed of hot, smokeless charcoal. As it cooks, the head cook himself bastes it, again and again, with the finest, clear honey from the estate's own beehives. The smell is intoxicating. The savory aroma of the roasting pork and nut stuffing begins to mingle with the sweet, caramelizing scent of the honey. It fills the entire kitchen. It is the smell of pure, decadent luxury. Finally, it is done. The dormouse is a perfect, glistening, golden brown morsel, no bigger than a large fig. It is taken from the spit and placed on a small, elegant silver platter. The cook sprinkles it with a dusting of poppy seeds, a final, artistic touch. The head cook looks at the finished dish, then looks at you. He grunts in satisfaction. "There," he says, "your quiet work in the dark is finished. My loud work in the fire is finished. Now it goes to the master, who will destroy it all in a single bite." He dismisses you with a wave of his hand. You bow and turn, leaving the chaotic, hot, and fragrant world of the kitchen. You descend the stone steps back into the cool, quiet, and familiar darkness of your cellar. You have delivered your charge, and as you return to the silent rows of your other terracotta jars, you feel a profound and unsettling sense of the great, complex machine of the villa, and your own strange, quiet, and absolutely essential place within it. You return to the cool, subterranean peace of your cellar. The door closes behind you, and the hot, chaotic, and violent world of the kitchens is shut away. The air here is still and cool, smelling of damp earth and the faint, nutty scent of your charge's feed. It is a world of quiet and of patience. You run a hand over the cool, curved surface of a terracotta glorarium. Your work, for that one perfect specimen, is done. Its fate is no longer in your hands. You are a slave. You will not be a guest at the master's great feast tonight. You will not see the final presentation of your work. Your own evening meal will be the standard slave's ration: a piece of coarse, dark bread, a bowl of thin lentil soup, and a cup of sour wine mixed with water. You will eat it here, in the quiet darkness of your domain, sitting on an overturned crate. But as you eat your meager meal, your mind is elsewhere. It is upstairs, in the bright, loud, and opulent world of the triclinium, the dining room. You have seen it before, on the rare occasions you have been summoned to the main villa. And so, in the quiet of your cellar, you can picture the scene. You can imagine the final, glorious chapter of the small life you so carefully cultivated. You imagine the dining room, lit by a dozen smoking oil lamps, their light glinting off the silver goblets and the polished marble of the floor. Your master, the senator, is reclining on the central couch, a man of immense power and gravity, laughing at a joke told by one of his guests. The guests themselves are powerful men, other senators, wealthy merchants, the local magistrate, all reclining on the cushioned couches, their bodies draped in fine-colored wool. The air is thick with the scent of expensive incense, of wine, and of the rich food that has already been served. The first course, the gustadio, is over. The guests have enjoyed their olives, their eggs, their savory pastries. Now comes the moment for the true delicacies, the strange and impressive appetizers designed to showcase the host's sophistication and wealth. You imagine the moment of presentation. A slave, chosen for his grace and good looks, enters the triclinium. He is not carrying a great steaming platter of meat. He carries a single, small, and ornate silver tray. All conversation in the room pauses. The guests turn their heads, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and anticipation. On the silver tray, arranged like precious jewels on a bed of fresh bay leaves, are the dormice. There are 6 of them, the fruits of your long labor. They are perfect. Their tiny bodies are plump, roasted to a glistening golden brown. The honey glaze catches the lamplight, making them sparkle. A fine dusting of poppy seeds adds a touch of artistic flair. They do not look like rodents. They look like small, edible sculptures. They are works of art. You can picture the pride on your master's face. This dish is a silent, powerful boast. It says, "Look at the perfection of my household. Look at the skill of my staff. I am a man of such wealth and refinement that I employ a specialist slave, a Gliarius, to cultivate these rare and difficult delicacies for the pleasure of my guests." The slave presents the tray to the guest of honor. The guest takes one of the small creatures with his fingers. The other guests follow suit. There is no revulsion on their faces. There is only the appreciative murmur of connoisseurs. In this world, the ability to serve and enjoy such an exotic food is a mark of true worldliness. You imagine the experience of eating it. The guest lifts the small, warm morsel to his lips. The first sensation is the slight, sticky sweetness of the honey glaze. Then, his teeth break through the delicate, crispy skin with a satisfying crunch. And then, a burst of rich, hot, and intensely savory flavor as he bites into the stuffing. The mixture of minced pork, pine nuts, and spices that the cook so expertly prepared. The flavor of the dormouse meat itself is subtle, delicate, and nutty, a product of the luxurious diet you so carefully provided. It is a single, perfect, and decadent bite, an explosion of sweet, salty, and savory flavors. The guests would murmur their approval. "Magnificent, Senator," one might say. "The flavor is exquisite. Your Gliarius is a true artist." You sit in the dark, dusty silence of your cellar, a half-eaten piece of coarse bread in your hand, and you imagine this scene. And you feel a strange, distant, and vicarious pride. Your name is unknown to those men. They do not know of your existence. But your art, the product of your quiet, patient, and lonely work, is being celebrated in the highest echelons of Roman society. Your success is being measured in the satisfied sighs of senators. This feeling is immediately tempered by the cold, hard reality of your own situation. They are feasting. You are eating sustenance. They are reclining on soft cushions, drinking fine wine. You are sitting on a wooden crate in a cellar, drinking sour wine and water. The immense, unbridgeable gulf between the creator of the luxury and its consumer has never been clearer. You understand the dormouse now. It is not food. It is theater. It is a message. Its entire purpose, the entire reason for your strange profession, is to provide a single, memorable, and impressive bite that communicates status. It is an appetizer, but what it truly serves is an appetite for prestige. You can faintly hear the distant sound of laughter and music from the villa above. A ghost of the feast you are not a part of. The dormice, you know, have been consumed by now. Their brief, glorious purpose fulfilled. You finish your soup. You stand up and you turn back to the silent rows of your terracotta jars. You take a scoop of carefully shelled walnuts from a storage bin. You lift the lid of another glorarium. A small, sweepy face with large black eyes peers up at you. It is time to feed the next one. The strange, silent, and endless cycle of your life's work, the cultivation of tiny, edible morsels of status in the dark, continues. The dormouse, a small, fat jewel, cultivated in the patient darkness of a country cellar, is a strange delicacy born of meticulous craft. It is a symbol of a wealthy senator's sophisticated and well-run household. But the Roman appetite for the bizarre, the expensive, and the utterly decadent did not stop in the quiet villas of the countryside. It reached its magnificent and terrifying peak in the heart of the empire itself, in the palace of the man who ruled the world. Our final journey takes us to the very pinnacle of power and culinary madness, the imperial kitchen on the Palatine Hill in Rome. You are no longer a provincial slave. You are a kokos, a specialized cook, a slave of the highest rank, fortunate and unfortunate enough to work in the personal kitchen of the emperor himself. Your world is not one of quiet darkness or bustling marketplaces. It is a realm of perpetual, frantic, and high-stakes chaos. The imperial kitchen is a vast, subterranean labyrinth of fire, steam, and shouting men. It is the largest and most complex kitchen in the world, an industrial operation dedicated to a single purpose, satisfying the whims of the most powerful and most unpredictable man on earth. The day begins like any other. You are working at a great marble table, meticulously deboning a dozen fattened geese, when a figure of authority appears at the kitchen's main entrance. It is the emperor's chamberlain, a man who moves with a silent, blighting menace, his face a pale, powdered mask of courtly indifference. He does not shout. He never needs to. A hush falls over the section of the kitchen he has entered. The head cook, the great Archimagirus, a man who terrorizes 100 lesser cooks, hurries over, bowing his head in submission. The chamberlain speaks in a low, almost bored voice, but his words carry the absolute weight of an imperial decree. The divine emperor is hosting a private recitation of poetry tonight for his circle, the chamberlain announces. The menu is to be light, but impressive. He has a craving. He desires a platter of flamingo tongues. The head cook does not flinch, but you, standing nearby, see a flicker of pure, cold panic in his eyes. It is a look you have seen before. It is the look of a man who has just been handed an almost impossible task, upon which his life may very well depend. A platter of flamingo tongues. It is not a common request, even in this palace of excess. It is a dish of almost mythical decadence, a favorite of past, famously gluttonous emperors, a dish whose preparation is a logistical nightmare. The head cook turns, his face now a mask of furious energy. He begins to bark orders, his voice a torrent of commands that sends a dozen slaves scattering in different directions. The panic of the commander has been instantly transformed into the frantic, terrified action of his subordinates. And you, due to your skill with poultry, are chosen for the first and most critical task. You must procure the birds. You do not go to the markets of Rome. The emperor does not eat market produce. You are given a military escort, 4 hulking Praetorian guards, their armor gleaming, their presence a clear sign that you are on official imperial business. You follow them out of the palace and to the emperor's private menagerie. It is a vast walled park on the edge of the city, a private paradise where the emperor keeps his collection of exotic beasts from the far corners of the world. You enter the menagerie, and it is like stepping into a half-forgotten dream. You see graceful gazelles from Africa grazing in a meadow. You see a great, shaggy bear from the forests of Germania, pacing in a stone enclosure. And then you are led to the source of your quest, a vast netted aviary, enclosing a shallow, man-made lake, and on the lake are the flamingos. There are hundreds of them. They are a living, breathing cloud of impossible, shocking pink. They stand in the shallow water on their long, slender legs, their elegantly curved necks dipping into the water. They are a vision of surreal, otherworldly beauty, and you are here to butcher them. The process is a brutal, chaotic, and deeply undignified affair. The head keeper of the menagerie, a nervous-looking man, directs a team of his own slaves to wade into the lake with large nets. The moment they enter the water, the serene, beautiful scene explodes into a panic of honking, flapping, and splashing. The magnificent birds, so graceful in their stillness, become clumsy, terrified creatures, scrambling to escape. The air is filled with their loud goose-like cries and the shouts of the slaves. Your job is to stand at the edge of the water, a professional appraising livestock. The Praetorian guards stand behind you, a silent, intimidating presence. As the slaves drag the struggling, beautiful birds from the water, you must select the finest specimens, the largest, healthiest birds, for they will have the largest tongues. You point with your finger, that one, and the large one on the left. You are a god, choosing who will live and who will die. You do not stop until you have selected 100 of them. 100 beautiful, exotic, and now doomed creatures, all for a single platter of appetizers. The journey back to the palace is a strange and silent parade. You follow the carts, which are now loaded with the caged, terrified, and still honking flamingos, their brilliant pink plumage, a shocking and tragic splash of color against the grimy streets of Rome. You arrive back in the hot, frantic world of the kitchen. The cages are brought in. The head cook is waiting, his finest, sharpest knives laid out on a clean cloth. The real work, the work of incredible, almost unimaginable waste, is about to begin. You look at the beautiful birds, and you look at the grim-faced cook, and you are filled with a sense of the sheer, insane absurdity of your world. You understand that this is what true power looks like. The ability to mobilize an army, to empty a private zoo, to command the skills of a dozen master chefs, all to satisfy a single, fleeting, and utterly bizarre craving. You stand in the searing heat of the imperial kitchen, the frantic percussive energy of the place a familiar song to your ears. The 100 live, terrified, and impossibly pink flamingos have been delivered. Their strange, honking cries, a bizarre and tragic addition to the kitchen's usual symphony of clanging pots and shouting cooks. Their presence transforms a corner of your workspace into a surreal and temporary menagerie, a splash of otherworldly beauty in this grimy, functional hell. But they are not here to be admired. They are here to be dismantled. The head cook, the Archimagorus, a man whose moods dictate the climate of this entire subterranean world, is now a figure of pure, terrifying focus. He has entered the state of professional trance that precedes an imperial meal. He sharpens his favorite, smallest knife on a whetstone, the soft, rhythmic ching-shing-shing of steel on stone, a sound that cuts through the chaos and signals that the true, terrible work is about to begin. You, he barks, pointing at you and 2 other junior cooks. Pluckers. You, he points to a large gwyn-faced butcher. The kill, cleanly, quickly. I want no bruises on the flesh. The process begins. It is a grim, efficient, and horrifyingly swift production line. A kitchen slave, his face a mask of indifference, reaches into a cage and pulls out the first flamingo. The bird struggles, its long, elegant neck twisting, its magnificent wings beating against the bars. He hands it to the butcher, who, with a single, practiced, and brutal movement, ends its life. The dead bird is then handed to you. Your job is to pluck it. You have plucked thousands of chickens, geese, and ducks in your career, but this is different. The feathers are not the coarse, practical feathers of a farm bird. They are a soft, delicate, and impossibly vibrant pink. They come away from the warm skin easily, a cloud of soft, ethereal color that fills the air around you. The feathers, which on the living bird were a symbol of exotic beauty, are now just a waste product, a pink dust that settles on the blood and grime-stained floor, to be swept away with the rest of the day's refuse. When the bird is plucked and naked, its pink skin a strange and pathetic sight, you pass it to the next station. You take another bird, and the process repeats. Pluck, pluck, pluck. Your hands move with a practiced, mechanical speed. You do not allow yourself to think. You are a machine for removing feathers. The true, bizarre heart of the operation takes place at the master's block. The head cook does not work like a butcher preparing a bird for the roasting spit. He works like a surgeon performing a delicate and highly specialized operation. He takes the first plucked headless carcass. He lays it on his great marble slab. He does not reach for a cleaver. He takes up a small, fine-tipped knife and a pair of delicate silver forceps, tools more suited to a physician than a cook. With an air of almost religious gravity, he makes a small, precise incision at the base of the bird's beak. He then inserts the forceps and, with a surgeon's skill, he probes, grasps, and extracts the tongue. He holds it up for a moment. It is a surprisingly large and fleshy organ for a bird, thick and fatty. This is the prize. This is the entire purpose of the creature's long journey from the Nile Delta, of its life in the emperor's menagerie, of its violent and undignified death. This single, strange-looking morsel of flesh. He places the tongue reverently into a large silver bowl filled with chilled, rose-scented water. Then, with an air of complete and utter indifference, he takes the rest of the flamingo, the magnificent plump carcass with its long, elegant legs, a bird that could feed a family of 4, and he pushes it to the side of his block into a growing pile of refuse. It is waste. It is irrelevant. Its purpose has been served. And this process is repeated, again and again, for all 100 birds. For the next hour, your world is a surreal nightmare of color and waste. The air is a blizzard of pink feathers. Your hands are slick with the warm blood of exotic birds. And the 2 piles on the head cook's great marble slab grow with a horrifying inverse relationship. The bowl of tongues fills with an agonizing slowness. It becomes a small, strange collection of pale, fleshy ovals, floating in the pink-tinged water. After an hour of work, the bowl is still mostly empty, a pathetic-looking prize. But the other pile, the pile of waste, grows with an obscene speed. It becomes a mountain of perfect, plump, and headless flamingo carcasses. It is a mountain of meat, a mountain of food, a mountain of pure, unadulterated waste. The sight of it is staggering. It is a display of consumption so conspicuous, so decadent, so utterly indifferent to the value of life and sustenance, that it feels like a form of madness. You, a cook, have been trained your entire life to respect the animal, to use every part, to waste nothing. The scraps from your master's table are the perks of your job, the food that feeds the lower ranks of the slave household. What you are witnessing is a violation of your craft. It is a sin against the very idea of food. When the last bird has been dispatched and the last tongue has been extracted, the head cook gestures to the mountain of carcasses. The lowest of the low-ranking kitchen slaves, the pot lushers and the floor scrubbers, the men who live at the very bottom of the palace's vast hierarchy, scurry forward. Tonight, they will be allowed to take the discarded bodies of the emperor's delicacy. Tonight, the lowest slaves in Rome will feast on flamingo meat, a luxury that even most senators will never taste. The irony is as thick and as sickening as the smell of blood in the air. The great mountain of waste is cleared away. The floor is swept of its pink feathers. The kitchen returns to a semblance of order. You are left with the final image. The head cook, his work of extraction complete, now turning his full artistic attention to the small silver bowl. Inside, the pathetic handful of 100 flamingo tongues floats silently in the water. You look at that small, pale pile, and you think of the vibrant, living, breathing cloud of pink birds you saw just a few hours ago, and you feel a deep, soul-level sickness. You have just participated in an act of waste so profound it feels like a crime against the gods themselves. The great, bloody mountain of waste has been cleared away. The pink feathers have been swept from the floor. The chaotic, industrial horror of the butchery is over. A strange, focused calm now descends upon the head cook's personal section of the imperial kitchen. The frantic energy of destruction has been replaced by the quiet, intense energy of creation. Your role in this drama now shifts. You are no longer a mere plucker of birds. You are now the trusted sous chef in the preparation of a dish so rare and so important that a single mistake could mean your death. Before you, on the great marble slab, sits the entire fruit of the morning's grim harvest, a single, large silver bowl. Inside, floating in chilled, rose-scented water, are the 100 flamingo tongues. They are pale, fleshy, and strangely large, looking less like parts of a bird and more like some bizarre, exotic shellfish. This small, unimpressive bowl of meat is the entire purpose of the morning's vast and violent effort. The head cook, the Archimagirus, washes his hands with a ceremonial slowness. He is no longer a butcher. He is now a high priest, preparing a sacred offering. His shouting ceases. His movements become economical and precise. He is in his element. The broth, he says, his voice a low, focused command. You immediately spring into action. Your task is to prepare the poaching liquid. This is not a simple matter of boiling water. Every ingredient is a testament to the emperor's power, a map of his empire. You take a heavy bronze pot and pour in a flagon of the finest white wine from the hills of Campania. To this, you add a generous scoop of golden honey from the slopes of Mount Hymettus in Greece, a luxury that costs more than a soldier's monthly pay. You fetch the spice chest, a small, heavily guarded box of rare and priceless treasures. Under the cook's watchful eye, you add a pinch of peppercorns from India, a few dried dates from Syria, and 3 precious, thread-like strands of saffron from Egypt, which immediately begin to bleed their beautiful, golden-orange color into the wine. Finally, you add the last, most Roman of ingredients. The cook hands you a small, elegant glass vial. It contains the flos garum, the pure, golden, first-press fish sauce. You unstopper it, and the familiar, pungent, yet deeply savory aroma fills the air. You pour a small amount into the pot. The broth is complete, a complex, bubbling concoction of sweet, sour, salty, and spicy. Its fragrance, so rich and exotic, it seems to belong in a perfumer's workshop rather than a kitchen. The cook brings the broth to a gentle, shimmering simmer. He then takes a fine mesh strainer and with the gentleness of a man Handling pearls, he lifts the flamingo tongues from their bowl of chilled water and lowers them into the fragrant, simmering liquid. "Time," he says to you, his eyes fixed on the pot. "Your job is now to watch the water clock, a simple dripping device in the corner of the kitchen. The timing must be perfect. A minute too long and the delicate tongues will become tough and rubbery. A minute too short and they will be raw. Your life in this moment is measured by the slow, steady drip of water from one vessel to another. While the tongues are poaching in their magnificent bath, the cook prepares the final sauce. This is where his true artistry is revealed. He takes a large stone mortar and begins to add ingredients: toasted pine nuts, more pepper, a spoonful of honey, a splash of wine, and another, more generous pour of the golden garum. He begins to work the pestle, his strong arms moving with a steady, rhythmic grace, grinding the ingredients together into a smooth, thick, and fragrant paste. He tastes it, adds a pinch of salt, tastes it again, and nods in satisfaction. The water clock shows that the time is up. Now, the cook commands. With a bronze strainer, you carefully lift the now plump, poached tongues from the simmering broth. They are no longer a pale white, but have taken on the beautiful golden orange hue of the saffron and wine. You arrange them on a magnificent serving platter of pure, polished gold, a dish reserved only for the emperor's personal table. The head cook then takes his rich, fragrant sauce, and with a silver spoon, he lovingly drapes it over the small pile of tongues. Until they are glistening, a small, decadent mound of pure luxury. The dish is complete. You stand back and look at it. It is, you must admit, a thing of beauty. The glistening golden tongues on the shining gold platter are a vision of imperial opulence. The aroma is intoxicating, a complex perfume of wine, honey, and exotic spices. It is a masterpiece of culinary art, and it is a monument to an act of breathtaking waste. You look at the small platter, a dish that could be held in the palms of two hands, an appetizer that will be consumed by a handful of men in a matter of minutes. And you cannot help but picture the other side of the equation. The vibrant, living cloud of 100 beautiful pink birds, the chaos of the hunt, the mountain of perfect discarded carcasses, the blizzard of pink feathers. All of that life, all of that beauty, all of that immense logistical effort has been reduced to this small, strange, and almost abstract arrangement of meat. The disproportion of it all is a physical weight in your stomach. This is not food as you have ever understood it. Food is sustenance. It is life. This is something else entirely. It is a statement of power so absolute that it can afford to be monumentally, almost poetically wasteful. It is a dish whose most important ingredient is not the flamingo, but the sheer, untrammeled will of the emperor himself. The head cook gives the platter a final, critical inspection and nods, satisfied. A high-ranking serving slave, a man from the emperor's own household, dressed in a spotless white tunic, enters the kitchen. He does not speak. He simply approaches the table, and you and the head cook step back, bowing your heads. He lifts the golden platter with the solemnity of a priest carrying a holy relic to the altar. He turns and glides out of the kitchen without a word. You watch him go. Your great, frantic, and wasteful labor is over. The final product, a tiny platter of indescribable decadence, is now on its way to be consumed. You have participated in the creation of a legend, a dish that will be whispered about in the villas of Rome for years to come. And the sheer, insane absurdity of it all leaves you feeling hollow, weary, and deeply, strangely afraid of the man you serve. You stand in the receding heat of the imperial kitchen, the frenetic energy of the great preparation now slowly subsiding. The head cook, his moment of high artistic tension over, has retired to a corner with a jug of wine. his face a mask of weary satisfaction. You and the other junior cooks are left with the mundane aftermath, the scrubbing of the pots, the scouring of the great marble slab, the cleaning away of the last vestiges of the magnificent, wasteful sacrifice. The golden platter, with its small, glistening jewels of meat, is gone. It has ascended from your world of smoke and labor into the perfumed, ethereal realm of the emperor's private apartments. You are the craftsman, not the guest. You will not witness the final act of consumption. But as you work, your hands deep in a basin of hot, greasy water, your mind follows the platter on its journey. You can imagine the scene. For the rituals of the palace are as structured and as well known as the recipes themselves. You imagine the high-ranking serving slave as he carries the golden dish from your subterranean world. He moves up the great marble staircases, his footsteps silent on the thick carpets. He walks through vast, echoing corridors, past stoic Praetorian guards who stand like statues, their eyes fixed forward, their presence a silent testament to the power that resides at the heart of this palace. He passes whispering courtiers and senators, their own faces pale masks of ambition and fear, who see the platter and know that the emperor is engaged in one of his legendary culinary explorations. The slave arrives at the doors of the emperor's private triclinium. It is not the grand banquet hall used for state dinners. It is a smaller, more intimate chamber, a room designed for decadent pleasure, not for politics. You imagine the room. The walls are not painted with frescoes, but are inlaid with polished exotic woods and panels of ivory. The couches are not merely cushioned, but are draped in silks of Tyrian purple, a color so expensive it is literally worth its weight in gold. The air is cool and heavy with the scent of rare, imported incense, a fragrance that costs more than your entire life's labor. Through the great, open arches, one can see the city of Rome spread out below, a carpet of flickering lights under the night sky. The emperor is here. He is not surrounded by his generals and advisors. He is reclining with his chosen circle, a handful of a young, beautiful, and utterly corrupt poets and patricians who have proven their worth not through loyalty or wisdom, but by their ability to appreciate and applaud his bizarre and extravagant tastes. The serving slave enters. He presents the golden platter, in the soft flickering light of 100 oil lamps. The honey and saffron-glazed tongues glisten like a pile of strange amber jewels. Lingue phoenicopterorum, the slave announces, his voice a low, reverent murmur. The tongues of the flamingos. You can picture the emperor's reaction. A slow, decadent smile spreads across his face. It is not the smile of a hungry man, but of a collector who has just been presented with a priceless and unrepeatable artifact. He is not about to eat a meal. He is about to consume an experience. He takes up a small, two-pronged fork of polished silver. He spears one of the small, glistening morsels. He holds it up for a moment, admiring it, the tiny jewel that is the culmination of so much effort. And then he places it in his mouth. What does he taste? He tastes the sweet, floral notes of the hymettus honey. He tastes the subtle, exotic perfume of the saffron and the sharp counterpoint of the pepper. He tastes the deep, savory, umami richness of the finest garum, but the texture and flavor of the tongue itself, it is something else. It is not the muscular, chewy texture of an ox's tongue. The flamingo's tongue is a fatty, delicate organ. The texture is impossibly soft, almost melting, a tiny, warm piece of savory fat that dissolves on the palate. The flavor is subtle, unique, not gamey like a duck, not fishy from its diet, but something entirely its own, a faint, almost buttery richness. But you know, as you scrub a stubborn piece of grease from a bronze pot in the kitchen below, that the emperor is not just tasting the flesh of a bird. He is tasting the unspeakable. He is tasting a flavor that is made precious not by its intrinsic quality, but by its sheer, breathtaking absurdity. He is tasting the immense logistical power of his own will. He is tasting the death of 100 beautiful creatures from a distant land. He is tasting the labor of the hunters who caught them, the keepers who fed them, the slaves who plucked them, and the master chefs who prepared them. He is consuming the entire, vast, and complex apparatus of the Roman Empire in a single, tiny, decadent bite. The dish is a testament not to gastronomy, but to a power so absolute that it can command a mountain of waste to produce a molehill of pleasure. The very act of eating it is a declaration that his most fleeting, personal whim is more important than 100 lives, more important than reason, more important than any concept of value. It is the taste of pure, untrammeled, and terrifying power. His guests, you are sure, are murmuring their extravagant praise. They are composing spontaneous poems about the flavor, comparing it to the kiss of a goddess or the nectar of the gods. Their flattery is the real sauce for the emperor's ego. And then it is over. The platter is empty. The brief, decadent experience has concluded. The emperor, his craving satisfied, will move on to the next course, the next entertainment, the next sensation. The flamingo tongues are already a fading memory on his palate. You finish scrubbing the pot. The great, chaotic, and wasteful labor of your day is done. The final product has been consumed and forgotten in a matter of minutes. You look at your own hands, red and raw from the hot water, and you think of the small, pale tongues in the silver bowl. The utter, insane disproportion of it all, between the effort and the result, between the lives lost and the pleasure gained, is the unspoken and terrifying truth of the world you inhabit. And so, the golden platter is empty, the last taste of an emperor's win, a fading memory. We have journeyed through the strange culinary landscape of the ancient world. We have stood in the stinking factories of Pompeii, where a sauce of pure savory delight was born from industrial-scale rot. We have witnessed the tragedy of a plant so beloved for its flavor and its secret power that it was literally loved to death. We have peeked into the quiet, dark cellars where strange livestock was meticulously fattened for the feast. And we have stood in the heart of an imperial kitchen, watching a mountain of impossible beauty be reduced to a single decadent morsel. It is easy for us from the safety of our modern world to look back at these foods and call them strange, barbaric, or grotesque. We wrinkle our noses at the thought of fermented fish guts, of eating rodents, of the breathtaking waste of the flamingo's tongue. Our palates, accustomed to the clean, predictable, and hygienic foods of our own time, recoil from the sheer earthy reality of theirs. But taste is not an absolute. It is a product of its time, a reflection of the world from which it springs. And if we could transport a wealthy Roman gourmand to our own time, he would find our own culinary world just as strange, and perhaps even more disturbing than we find his. Imagine trying to explain to him the source of our most common flavors. You place a single, perfect, white cube of sugar in his hand. He would see it as a form of alchemy, a strange, crystalline mineral of pure, unearthly sweetness, with no connection to the familiar taste of fruit or honey. He might see it as a powerful and dangerous drug, its purity a sign of an unnatural process. You offer him a piece of dark chocolate. You would have to explain that it comes from a bitter bean grown in a steaming jungle on the other side of the world, that the beans are left to rot and ferment, then dried, roasted, and ground into a paste, before being mixed with immense quantities of that same strange, white, crystalline sugar. He, a man who seasoned his meat with rotten fish, would likely find the entire process bizarre and illogical. You take him to a simple grocery store. He would see it not as a place of convenience, but as a temple of incomprehensible magic. He would see summer fruits, fresh and perfect, in the dead of winter. He would see meats sealed in strange, clear skins that do not rot. He would see food preserved, not in salt or smoke, but in cans of thin, silvery metal, promised to last for years. He would not see this as progress. He would see it as a form of witchcraft. A world where the fundamental laws of nature, of seasons, of decay, of time itself, have been unnaturally suspended. The strangeness of their food was born of a logic that we have forgotten. The garum that so disgusts us was a brilliant solution to a universal problem. In a world without refrigeration, a world where food spoiled with terrifying speed, garum was a way to take the most perishable of foods, the fish, and through the magic of salt and fermentation, transform it into a shelf-stable product that could last for years. A product that not only preserved nutrients, but also created a powerful, delicious, and deeply desired flavor. It was a triumph of food science. The dormouse that seems so repellent to us was a response to a different desire, the insatiable human need for status. In the deeply competitive and hierarchical world of Rome, conspicuous consumption was a vital tool of politics. Serving a dish that was difficult to raise, expensive to feed, and time-consuming to prepare, a dish like the dormouse was not just about feeding your guests. It was a declaration of your wealth, your power, and the excellence of your household. The dormouse was not an animal, it was a statement. And the silphium that now haunts us with its absence was prized not just for its unique flavor, but for its utility. It was a powerful and effective medicine in a world that had so few. Its value was a direct reflection of a desperate human need. The one constant, the thread that connects their strange feasts to our own, is that very human need to use food as a message. We may not eat flamingo tongues, but our own world has its equivalents. The impossibly expensive slice of bluefin tuna, the tiny spoonful of caviar, the rare white truffle shaved over a simple dish. These are our own status symbols, foods whose value is derived not just from their taste, but from their rarity, their expense, and the story they allow us to tell about ourselves. The foods of the past are a mirror. Their strangeness is simply a reflection of our own distance from the world that created them. Their dinner table is a map of their civilization, a guide to their fears, their desires, their power structures, and their lost knowledge. To understand their strangest foods is to understand the strange and complex realities of their daily lives. And so, we bring our journey back from the distant, echoing banquet halls of the past to the quiet, familiar spaces of our own time. Let us end our exploration not in a stinking Roman factory or a windswept Greek shore, but in a place that is, in its own way, more magical and more wondrous than any of them. Your own kitchen, late at night. Picture yourself standing there now. The house is quiet. The only light is the faint digital glow from the clock on the stove, or the pale moonlight filtering through a window. This is your personal storeroom, your sanctuary of sustenance, and it is filled with miracles that would have confounded the wealthiest Roman senator. You pull open the door to your refrigerator. A cool, clean, and gentle light spills out, illuminating the contents within. It is a personal, magical cave, chilled by an invisible and silent force. Inside, you see the remnants of your modern life. A container of leftover rice, a piece of cheese wrapped in a thin, clear skin, a bottle of milk from a cow you have never seen, a bright red apple from an orchard 1,000 miles away. Each item is preserved, held in a state of suspended animation, safe from the relentless march of decay. There is no need for mountains of salt, for smoking huts, for vats of fermenting rot. There is only the quiet, confident hum of this incredible machine, a silent guardian against the ancient enemy of scarcity. You close the refrigerator and open a cupboard door, your pantry. You look at the neat, orderly rows of cans, boxes, and jars. This is a library of flavors, a catalog of global travel that would have been an impossibility for even an emperor. You see spices from India, coffee from South America, tea from China, sugar from islands you have never heard of. Each one is sealed, safe, and available to you at a moment's notice. You have, in this small, dark cupboard, a variety of flavors and a level of food security that would be the envy of every king and queen in history. Finally, you walk to the sink. You turn a simple metal handle, and from the tap, a stream of clean, cool, and perfectly safe water pours out, effortlessly and endlessly. It is a small, everyday miracle. It is a luxury that entire civilizations dedicated lifetimes of monumental engineering to achieve. And you have it at your fingertips. You stand in this quiet, familiar room, and you are surrounded by a profound and almost invisible peace. The anxieties that governed the ancient world of food are absent here. You do not worry that your milk will be sour by morning. You do not fear that your favorite spice will be hunted to extinction. Your choices are governed not by a desperate need for preservation or a crushing demand for status, but by a simple, wonderful, and historically unprecedented question. What do I feel like eating? The greatest luxury is not the taste of a flamingo's tongue or the pungent kick of silphium. The greatest luxury is this: the quiet, boring, and utterly miraculous peace of mind that comes from knowing your next meal is safe, predictable, and waiting for you behind a closed door. And here, in the quiet sanctuary of our own pantry, our journey through the strange and often terrifying world of ancient food comes to an end. We have tasted the ghosts of flavors long vanished and understood the desperate logic behind the dishes that time has left behind. The story of strange food is the story of humanity itself, a story of innovation, of status, of incredible waste, and of the constant, unending struggle to conquer hunger, decay, and the simple, terrifying uncertainty of tomorrow. And now, as we close the cupboard door on a world of predictable comfort and quiet abundance, it is time for our own quiet. Time to rest, secure in the knowledge of our next meal. Time to be thankful for the simple flavors and the silent peace of our own time. Time to sleep.